All right, so hello everybody. Happy Monday. I do have a little bit of time to get some studying in, probably about an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and work through the section of collecting data with arrays, pick up where I left off. I'm not sure why it's giving me that message. I accessed this from my phone, but I'm on my computer now. So I'm not sure why it's saying that. But anyway, I'll go ahead and work through this. So this lesson focuses on how to collect, manipulate, and access data in arrays. We have our key terms: JavaScript array, a collection of ordered items, and then mutation, a change in the original data value. We have our pretend client here. Clients often use more than one developer when working on their website. Diego hired someone else to simplify his website by using arrays to keep track of the songs on his album. Now he has a problem. The change broke other things on his website. In this lesson, you'll learn the skills needed to help him solve the problem. I mentioned earlier that documentation is absolutely invaluable and that it isn't a big deal to look stuff up, but I want to make sure that you don't rely too much on copying and pasting code samples. A major part of building confidence in your programming skills is to practice typing the basic JavaScript syntax from memory. The more you type, the more muscle memory you develop. Pretty soon, you'll find yourself typing whole chunks of code without looking anything up. Make sure making you faster and more efficient at this. Keep challenging yourself. Learning code is similar to working out. You can't get stronger without practice and pushing yourself. Remember that taking a break allows the body to recover from exercise. The same is true with coding. Your mind also needs to take time to digest what you are learning. Take a break whenever you feel like you need one. This is hard, but you are doing great. Okay, so that was a nice little pep talk. Now we're going to go into what arrays actually are. So arrays are a collection of ordered items. In a sense, an array is like a storage box with many numbers on it, as shown below. Imagine that you put something in each numbered slot of the storage box. Whenever you come back to your storage box, you'll find that everything is exactly as you had left it, with each slot holding what you had originally put there. That's the idea behind an array. It helps you organize many items by storing each item in a specific numbered slot. You can then return to those slots as needed, and you know that they're storing whatever data or information you've put there. And in JavaScript, there's an added bonus. An array can have as many slots as you want. Okay, so now we're going to just creating and accessing arrays, see what the overview is. I am going to go ahead and speed these videos up so that we can get through it a little bit quicker. So I actually already did watch that video before, so that's kind of a review for me. Demo creating an array. You're ready to create an array in JavaScript. In the replit below, create an array with your favorite artist and then print it out. So I did actually do this as well, but I will go over it because it's good to review it, just to get familiar with that. Let me see. Where's my, oh, it's right in front of me. I'm not signed in. Let me go ahead and sign in really quick. Okay, now that I'm signed back in, I'll go ahead and share my screen again. So we're going to fork this. Okay, let me see. So basically, all we have to do is modify the array with our favorite artists. So who should we put? We have John Coltrane, Adele, Santana, Beyonce. Maybe we could put Aurora and Kimbra. Now you don't have to put a comma at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and just run that, and it should add ours. And then if we want to choose a specific artist, we would just go here, my favorite artists, and then we'd use the bracket, or not that one, to select which number. So it starts from 0 and goes up from there. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I wanted Aurora, I'd choose 4, and it should print Aurora to the console, and it does right there. Okay. Modify the array below and add your favorite fruits. What happens when you add 2 arrays together? So we're going to open and run it. And I believe I did try this one as well, but go ahead and review that. Let my favorite fruits equal banana, cherry, mango. Let my lucky numbers equal 4, 5, so forth. Add the 2 arrays. So they already added them. This is how it looks. Let combined array equal my favorite fruits plus my lucky numbers. I'm going to run that, and it's going to have both of those. It has the separate arrays, and then it has both of them combined, mixed together. So pretty straightforward. Going back to our lesson, arrays must be structured in a particular way. The square brackets show where the array starts and ends. A comma separates each item in the array, but there's no comma after the last item. Arrays are created with 0 or more elements. Arrays can contain any data type, including other arrays. Take a look at the examples below. So we have an array for a list of puppies, an empty array, puppy ages, puppy age descriptions, and then puppies and ages. So this one's a mixture of the two. Arrays inside arrays. You can mix strings and numbers. Getting items from arrays. Imagine you want to retrieve something from your storage box above. If you were expressing that action in words, you'd likely say, get me whatever item is in slot 4. To get items from an array, you use a similar method. You access an item in an array using bracket notation and the index of that item, which is that item's slot number. To do this, use square brackets with the index inside, like 2. This is easy to remember because you also create arrays with those square brackets. Here's an important detail that trips up many new developers. Arrays are 0 indexed. That means that the numbering system starts at 0, not 1. So if you want to retrieve the first item in an array, you must ask for the item in position 0. It might help to think of this as an offset. You could ask yourself, how many items from the beginning is the item that I want? The first item is 0 items, and then you go from there. Take a moment to return to your list of puppies in the example below. What do you notice? So 0 is going to be assigned to Shadow because it starts at 0. Try out your new indexing skills in REPL below. What happens if you try to access an index that doesn't have anything in it? So I'm going to go ahead and open this and fork it. Okay, so drink. So we have our favorite fruits listed in an array, and then we're gonna practice our indexing here by getting 0, which is going to be the banana, and 2, which is going to return or print the mango. What will this do? Uncomment and see. So we have counts.log, my favorite fruit's 3. So since there isn't anything assigned to 3, what it's going to return is probably undefined. And it returned undefined since nothing is assigned there. Okay. Here's another example for extra practice. Choose the correct index so that it prints Coltrane. Open. So what are we going to put here? Well, we know Adele is 0, 1, 2. So we're going to put 2, and that should return what we want. And there you go. Changing what's in an array. So now we're going into the manipulation of arrays. Once again, I'm just going to speed this up.
JavaScript provides a number of different ways to manipulate arrays. Here's an array of my friends. We can print to the console this array like this. And we can print to the console the first index of the array, which remember is always 0, like this. So if we wanted to change a specific value within an array, like replacing Jenny with her full name, Jennifer, we'll need to first target that index like this. Then we can assign it with a new value like this. Now when we print to the console the array again, we'll see that Jenny's name has been updated to Jennifer. We can even add new values at the end of the array. Right now, we have 5 names in this array. If we wanted to add a 6th, it's important that we remember that since arrays start at index 0, the next available space will be in index 5, like this. And then we can assign a new value to store in that position. And when we print to the console my friends, we'll see all 6 names like this. But what if we made a mistake and accidentally added Michael to index 6? Well, when we run the code, we'd see our updated array like this, with the 5 original names, then 1 empty item, and then our addition with Michael. And if we print to the console the value of the index of that empty item, when we run the code, we'll see that the value is actually undefined. Luckily, you'll never have to manually count the items in an array because we use the array property length to do that for us. Let's update this last console log to print to the console a message that lists the length or the number of items we have in our myFriends array. When we run our code, we'll see that it counts up all of the items and provides us with the number 7. Keep in mind that it is counting the empty undefined item.
I'm just going to pause that so I can kind of digest that information a little bit more. So we have my friends, and then my friend 6 is Michael. We skipped one. So when it printed it, we have 1 empty item and then Michael. And then we have I have plus my friends.length plus friends. And okay, that's cool. So it's going to give you how many friends you have on your list. Just wanted to go over that to make sure I was understanding.
As well. Using the length property, we can avoid having to count the items by replacing the number 6 with myFriends.length. When we run this code again, we'll see that we added Michael properly to the last index in each of the 6 friends within our array are counted properly. JavaScript actually provides a number of different ways for manipulating arrays in easier ways than having to target the length. We can use the push method to add an item at the end of an array, even.
So I'm just going to add these different methods. I know that we did go over length in a prior lesson, but now we have a new one that is push. I'm just going to make a note. Push adds new items to the end of an array and returns the new length.
When we don't know how many items are already in it. So, although we can do this, by adding Michael to the last index of this array using the length property, it can be easier to use the push method like this. And rather than assigning Michael to the array with this equals, we add the string Michael to the end of the array like this. When we run this code, we'll see Michael is still added into our array. And if we wanted to remove the last item from an array without having to check how many items are in it, we can simply use the pop method.
Oops.
JavaScript provides a number this line of code by declaring a new variable called last item, deleting it. But what if pop? So we remove the last item. When we run our code, we can see that Michael was added using push, and then removed using pop. So we remove the last item. And if we wanted to remove the last item from an array without having to check how many items are in it, we can simply use the pop method.
Okay, so we have push and pop. Pop is going to remove the last element of an array and returns that element.
Just target the array and then add the pop method. Let's print the updated array to the console. When we run our code, we can see that Michael was added using push, and then removed using pop. So we removed the last item from the array, basically deleting it. But what if we wanted to keep it in another variable to do something with it later? We can update this line of code by declaring a new variable called last item, and then assigning it the value that was removed using the pop method. Let's print to the console a message and the value of last item.
Okay, so for this, it's kind of like a save for later, it seems like.
When we run this code, we can see that Michael was added, then removed, but still stored. This is a list of all the array methods that give you different options for manipulating arrays.
Okay, so that's a ton of different methods. Let me see. Some of these we've gone over. Well, we just went over pop and push. And then we did go over length. Is that on here? Okay. All right, I just wanted to kind of go over those and see if any of them looked familiar to me.
You don't need to memorize all of these, but they can certainly be fun researching and applying these methods as they give you a lot more control manipulating array data.
All right, you've already learned that you can change what's in a variable by reassigning it. Refresh your memory by reviewing the example below. Let dog age equal 6, dog age equals 7. Happy birthday. It turns out you can do something similar with arrays. You can change what's stored in each numbered slot. If you want to change an array, use access and assign. Let dog ages equal, and then we have our array of 6, 9, and 10. Dog ages 0. Dog ages 0 equals 7. So dog ages 0 is going to be 7 now because we changed it. You can even use this technique to assign values to slots in the array that weren't holding any information to begin with. So we have our dog ages, and then, we have 3 equal 5. So since we only have 2 here, 0, 1, 2, it's going to add an additional slot with 5, a 5-year-old dog. So a fourth dog, 5 years old. And then we have our dog ages, which are 6, 9, 10, and 5. Before proceeding into the next section, make sure that you take a break. Go out, breathe some fresh air, and come back when you feel ready to continue learning some more. Great job. Okay. I like how they kind of have the built-in breaks there, because this is a longer lesson, but some of it I already reviewed, so I think I'm good to move on. We have commonly used array methods and properties. You've already explored some helpful string methods like replace and trim. Okay. One of the benefits of arrays is that they come with their own methods to help you perform common tasks. In fact, there are more than 30 array methods, as we saw from the video with all those different array methods. But for now, you can focus on the 3 most common ones, which is push, pop, and length. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste our length method into the chat just to kind of help me remember. Okay, play around with the REPLs below to learn more about push, pop, and length. This one is for push. So we're going to open that up. Fork our REPL, and we have let my favorite fruits, and then we have our fruit, my favorite fruits dot push. So we know that push is going to add pair to our array, and it's going to add that when we print it. And we have another one there, it's going to add banana. So we'll see what it prints here. So originally my prediction for this, what it's going to print, it's going to print our array with pear, but because we have the banana in there, banana is now going to be at the end. So we have banana, cherry, mango, pear, and then we have banana, cherry, mango, pear, and banana again, since we added that with the push method. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense to me. Moving on. Now we're going to take a look at pop. Oh, what happened to my screen? Okay. My nose is so runny today. So now we're going to take a look at pop. Open that on REPL. Okay. And we know that pop is going to remove the last element of an array and returns that element. So we have let my favorite fruits equal banana, cherry, mango, pear. And then we have printed favorite fruits and the length. So we have the length is going to be 4. And then we have pop. It's going to remove the last item from our list. Council.log my favorite fruits. Council.log my favorite fruits.length. Prints array length 3. Pop both removes the last item from the array and returns that item so it can be used. For example, to create a new variable, let last fruit equal my favorite fruits.pop, council.log last fruit, prints variable which is mango, and then we have the my favorite fruits, which is going to be the array, and then my favorite fruits length is going to be 2. We can use push to move the last fruit back into the array. My favorite fruits.push, last fruit, adds last fruit to the array, council.log my favorite fruits. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run that and see how it looks when it's printed. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of review this for a little bit, make sure I'm taking it in. So we have the first one printed is banana, cherry, and mango. Well, the first thing we had that was printed was just the length of the first array. So there's 4 in the first array. And then we had my favorite fruits.pop, which is going to remove the pear, which is why that's printed. So we have, after we did pop, we printed my favorite fruits again. And then we had my favorite fruits.length. Ended up with 2. Or I'm sorry, I missed that one. We ended up with 3 up here. That's right. So we had the pop after we did our initial print of the favorite fruits.length, and then we popped the pear off of there. That came back with 3 now. And it looks like that is all this first portion here. And then moving on to our second portion, we have let last fruit equal my favorite fruits dot pop, which is mango because we took the mango off. My favorite fruits. So we ended up taking the mango off because that's going to be the next one to go. And then after that, console.log print last fruit, which is mango. My favorite fruits, banana and cherry. Now it only has those two. And then when we have the length, we have 2, because that's all we have in that array now. Okay, so that makes sense for this section. And I know I'm kind of going over things slow, but I just want to really understand what I'm learning here and make sure that I kind of get it familiar and can remember it. So the last one is favorite fruits dot push is last fruit. And that's where we get banana, cherry, and mango. We moved mango back into the array. And then we printed console.log, my favorite fruits, and that's what we got there. I'm going to keep this REPL open and go to the lesson. Does the original array change? Does the original array change? So when you learned about the string methods replace, trim, 2 uppercase and 2 lowercase, you discovered that the original string doesn't change when you use these methods. Is the same thing true for array methods? Find out below. Okay, I'm going to take a little drink. So yeah, the original string doesn't change when you use these methods. I'm not sure if that would be true for an array. I'm kind of thinking it wouldn't. So we're going to go into our next REPL, which is array method mutations. And we'll see what's going on with that. Okay. Let my favorite fruits equal, okay, we have that array there. Does push change the array? Yeah, push would change the array. Because once you run it, after you run push, it would be added to the original array. What about pop? Let last equal my favorite fruits dot pop. Well, that would remove pair. And so, yeah, it would change, both of these would change the array, which is the original string. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't look like it did. Okay, so I'm wrong about that. Okay, back to the lesson. In web development, the technical term that means to change the original is to mutate. I'm going to just make a note of that. The string methods that you learned won't mutate a string. In other words, they are immutable or not changeable. But the array methods that you just explored, push and pop, will mutate or change an array. Okay, so it will. Try out the code below and observe the console output. So we have strings that are immutable. Let hello equal hola. Hello dot to uppercase. The hello variable is still lowercase. Console.log hello. If you want to make the hello variable uppercase, you need to reassign the value. So you actually need to go in, like we've done in the previous lesson when we were doing strings and values. You would need to go in and change the value, and then it would print to uppercase. So arrays are different because they're mutable, which means you can change them. So let hi equal, and then we have this array. Hi.pop is going to remove that last hello. The hi variable now only contains hola and ciao. Console.log hi. Okay. All right, we are going to do our first knowledge check. I think there's only one per unit. And then I'm going to go into the assessment for this lesson. And I'll go ahead and wrap it up from there. So let me go ahead and start. And we'll see. What is the correct way to access guava in the fruits array? Let fruits equal, we have our array. The correct way to access it would be, oh, okay, they're trying to mess us up here, trick us, because we know it starts at 0. So it would be 0, 1, 2, and it would be this one. Okay, what is the correct value of the array holidays after the following code executes? So we have let holidays equal undefined. There's nothing in that array. Holidays.push Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So that would add Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then we have holiday 1 is Valentine's Day. So I want to say Martin Luther King would be 0 and then 1 Valentine's Day. Wait. Let me see, because you'd have to add that a certain way. Push is going to add the new item. Holiday is going to return I don't know about that. Holidays push. So we know for sure we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day and President's Day. I'm not sure about Valentine's Day. So let me just check. We'll go in and replit and just run this and see what it brings back. Oops. Oh my gosh. Definitely need to practice more. Okay, so we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I wish that was not there. And it looks like Valentine's Day and President's Day. So it returned all of them. What is the correct value of the array days after the following code executes? So let days, we have all our days, and then we're going to use the pop method. All that's going to do is remove Saturday. So it should be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday without Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yep. What is the correct notation to access Lewis, alligator, in the pets array? So we have let pets equal Fluffy, dog, Lewis, alligator, Hedwig, owl, Mickey, mouse. We have all these arrays within the pets array. So we have, it's obviously going to be pets. We know that. And they want, so that's going to be 0. And, okay. So maybe it will be 1 to return this array. I'm not exactly sure. They have me kind of stumped on that one. So let's see what comes back, kind of check our work. Pets. Let's see what comes back when we put 1. Okay. So we're returning, that's correct, it looks like. So because we have arrays within arrays, this array is going to be 0. This array is going to be 1. This array is going to be 2. And this array is going to be 3. So since we want to return this one, it's going to be 1. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I got them all correct. Okay, so that is correct. That is correct. Yep, we got them all right. Now we're moving into our client and our assessment at the end of the lesson. So let's see what he wants us to do. Before my developer took off, they made some notes about turning my album list into items in an array. I need to get a drink real quick. Do you have any idea what this means? So instead of just making the list, they want to compile it into one beautiful little array. Here's a little more context. I had mentioned that my next album would be coming out in a few months, and my developer said that programming on my website would be much easier if everything was an array. But now that I look at my website, the total album length is messed up. I think my developer made a mistake. Is this something you can fix? So after having just gone over that lesson, I'm pretty sure we can figure out how to do that. Let me just see. So we're going to go in and fix what the developer did. I'm going to see if I can take the assessment on my Windows operating system, but last time it wasn't really working and I had to switch over to Linux. So we'll see if it works. So yeah, it looks like it's not going to let me take the assessment on here. So I will just have to switch back over and shut down. Let me see. But I'm going to go ahead and take this assessment, and then that's it for today. So that was just going over collecting data with arrays, and then the next lesson is going to be iterating through collections. I guess we could take a sneak peek at that. And I only have 2 more units here to cover in this module. And then I go into JavaScript functions, which I'm really excited to learn about. So since our whole hour isn't completely up, we have about 10 more minutes, I'm going to go into iterating through collections, since we're pretty much already done with the arrays and everything. This lesson builds on the array fundamentals that you explored in the previous lesson. In this lesson, you'll practice iterating through collections of data in arrays. As you start working with more data, you'll want to apply the power of loops to cycle through the arrays. Diego will reach out with another problem, and you'll need to use a loop to solve that problem. This type of work can be challenging in its own way, but I'm certain that you'll be able to figure it out. He is going to send you a message in just a bit. Good luck. All right, so take a look at loops.
For loops are used to run through a block of code a specific number of times. Let's say we wanted to print to the console the numbers 1 through 5. We could write it like this, with a unique console.log for each number. This works and isn't bad, but what if we needed to print 1 through 100 or 1 through 1000? You can see how strange this is now if we had to write the same line of code over and over again, all those times. The much easier way to do this is using a for loop. To help demonstrate this, let's print to the console a message that we want to start a loop, as well as when the loop is complete. Now, rather than having these 5 lines of code, let's replace these with a single console.log. And rather than hard-coding a number to display, let's add a new variable here, and let's use a simple variable like I. This is pretty common in for loops, and I usually stands for incrementer. Now, we want to run this line of code 5 times, so let's add a for loop around it. Every for loop requires 3 expressions: the initial expression, a condition, and an increment expression. Here's a graph of our code to help us visualize how...
Okay, so loops are a little bit different than anything we've seen. This kind of reminds me of going back to the conditional statements. So the else, if else, and it's reminiscent of that, but it looks a lot different. For let I equal 1, I is greater than or equal to 5, or I mean, I is less than or equal to 5, I, and then we have our initialize expression, condition. It's either true, and if it's true, loop body increment expression. False.
Well, all of this code is working. First, we want to set the initial expression by declaring our variable I with a starting value, and this happens only once when the loop is started. In this case, let's assign I with 1, since we want our starting value to be 1. And the condition here is similar to an if statement, as it will run this block of code only while a specific condition is met. In this case, we want to run this code only 5 times, so we can change this to say, this loop should keep running if I is less than or equal to 5. And the increment expression is the value we want to increase or decrease our counter by. Since we want to count each number between 1 and 5, we'll use I++. This is the same as saying I equals I plus 1. So basically, when we run this code, we'll start here and first print to the console that the loop is started. Then, within this for loop, the variable I begins at 1. And since 1 is less than 5, this block of code will print the value of 1 to the console. Now, we'll redo this loop, and our variable I is incremented by 1. And since 2 is less than 5, then we'll print to the console again the number 2. We'll do this again. Our variable I is incremented by 1. And since 3 is less than 5, then we'll print to the console the number 3. And then our variable I is incremented by 1. And since 4 is less than 5, then we'll print to the console again the number 4, as well as run through this again, printing the number 5. Now this time, when we increment I by 1, I is the value of 6. And since 6 is not less than or equal to 5, this condition is no longer true, and we'll exit this loop. At this time, we'll print that the loop is ended. We just ran through each step of this loop very slowly, but when this code is actually run in JavaScript, this entire process happens so quickly it's basically immediate. Now that we have a functional for loop, we can play around with the expressions to see how we can get different results. Rather than printing 1 to 5, we can change this to print 1 to 12 by changing this condition here to end when 1 is less than or equal to 12. And when we run this code, we'll see the for loop prints all 12 loops. Now, what if rather than printing 1 to 12, we wanted to print 3 to 12? We can change the value of the declared variable within the initial expression from 1 to 3. And when we run this code, we'll see it starts the loop with 3 and ends at 12. And if rather than printing 3 to 12, we wanted to print 3 to 12 but in increments of 3, like 3, 6, 9, and 12, we can change the increment expression from incrementing by 1 to incrementing by 3 like this. Notice that to increment a number larger than 1, we need to set an I plus equals 3. And when we run this code, we'll see it starts the loop with 3, but then prints 6, 9, and 12, just like we wanted. As you can see, there's a lot of control using for loops to determine how to loop over a block of code.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. It's a little bit more to learn there, but I think the more that I play around with it and become familiar with it, the easier it will be to kind of remember and understand. We can go a little bit more into loops, and then I'm going to end it today. So let me see. What are loops anyhow? Loops are used to run through a set of instructions in the code a specific number of times. With a loop, you can tell the code to perform the same task or series of tasks multiple times. So check out the simple example below. This code script just prints the number of times that the loop has run. So an example of a for loop, let count2 equal 5. For, let index equal 1. Index is less than or equal to count2, index 1. So I'm going to just like copy and paste it because I like to see how it works in the replit. Okay. And then we can change it here. So we could do 12, and then it would go to 12. And then if we want to change the increment, is that what that was? We just do plus equals, we could skip count by 2. Is that how that works? 1, 3, or do 3. And we'll just go back. Okay. So that's kind of fun to play around with. This code will log the numbers 1 through 5 in the console, but this is new syntax. Take a moment to learn how to read it. So starting at index equals 1, let index equal 1. You can follow along. Check if index is less than or equal to the value of count to 5. So it's less than. Log the value of index, increase index by 1, then repeat this code. Also take note of the curly brackets. We have curly brackets here. Okay. Used here, the curly bracket at the end of the loop tells the code to run the loop again and to keep running it until the condition is false. Now that you know the basic syntax of a for loop, take a look at another example. Imagine that you are hosting a party and you want to give burgers to your guests. Instead of preparing each individual burger, you decide to use a burger making machine. The machine's source code includes the code shown below. So we have let number of guests equal 20. So we have to make enough burgers for 20 people. And instead of doing it individually, we're going to write our loop. So for We're going to let index equal 1. Index is less than or greater to number of guests. So that's going to be 20. And then we're going to do our increase the index by 1 here. With our curly brackets, we let it loop to repeat the code. And it's going to print, here is a burger for guest number. And it should do all of them, all 20. And just for fun, we're going to go into our REPLs. And we're going to see how this looks. Ooh, I like the little burger emoji. Everybody has a burger, so that's how that works. Take some time to analyze the code above. As you can see, the code is very similar to the first example, but in this case, a for loop is used to assign a burger to each guest by using the index variable. Because number of guests is set to 20, this will repeat the command 20 times. Okay, so I'm going to end it here for now. And I'm not sure when I'm going to go live again. I'm going to try and go live to finish up the rest of this module this week. So just stay on the lookout for that. So today finished collecting data with arrays, and then hopefully at some point I'll be able to finish the iterating through collections. And then we go into objects and accumulator pattern. So really not too much more to do here. But I hope you guys are having a good Monday, and I will see you in the next one.